This is Christmas music. Absolutely. Yes, you know it is. Listening to that nice sound bed we put in there for you to welcome you again to the underground tunnels that are the steam tunnels, where the triumvirate, where the masters of pop culture have once again assembled around the table to begin their debates on where we go with pop culture in the past, in the future, and in the now. It is I, the Birdman, Josh, coming down here, assembling with my gentlemen, the one, the only, Rashawn Smith, Three Clubs. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's there, looking right at your beautiful face and that smile. It's so good to have you back.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, so you make it seem like I wasn't here last week. Wait, was I here last week? Shit, now I'm spiraling. Thank you, Josh.
We record out a little bit in advance. By the time the three listeners get to checking us out here, it'll be even closer to the holidays, and God knows if anyone will know where time is at that point.
That's a good point. So with that said, Happy New Year.
Hey! Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year. Don't tell us how to live. That's the one thing that you never do. We don't
forget Festivus don't forget Festivus for the rest of us.
How could I forget Festivus for the rest of us? I mean, really,
we're about to air some grievances, my man. If you keep that up,
isn't it just true? That is kind of every week is Festivus for us, though, right? This is the pop culture Festivus.
Festivus for the rest of us.
It's good to sit here and say, you know what really grinds my gears? That's that idea. And speaking of someone who doesn't grind my gears, I hear the sultry laugh of the star child over there, Mr. Greg DeSense. How you doing this morning?
Oh, it's tis the season of virgin births, so I'm ready to bring all the wonder.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it, huh?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, it always amazed me how everyone in Christianity just wants to breeze over the fact that of all the professions that Jesus knew about, he pointed out prostitution as one of the things we should probably be easy about. And I just want to say, maybe it's because he maybe came from a prostitute. I know I just started a whole bunch of shit, but it wasn't that hard of a profession for a young woman who didn't have any means to get into back in the biblical times. And it would make sense that maybe a John who fell in love with her would be like, I don't even care whose kid that is. I'm going to make you mine, and we're going to make this work.
Baby. Oh, well, maybe it'll get us some more downloads, at least for the controversy.
It's the oldest profession.
You know, there is the whole it gets a little Arrested Development. Now, firstly, I happen to fall into the school that the Vatican made Mary Magdalene into a prostitute, and that she may not have actually been one, may or may not. You know, that gets a
three different Marys in the Bible that people get confused, and the Vatican actually is guilty of that as well.
Yeah, and I'm very much fall in that camp, because even though I'm the heretical Jew in this conversation, I actually know, I try and read a lot about the doctrine. I just find it interesting. I find it fascinating in literature, if nothing else. And it does to me, though, it gets to be like a biblical times Arrested Development with the youngest brother there who dates a woman with the same name as his mother. Like, doesn't that just strike anybody as weird at some point?
And
it
was a very common name.
Yeah, I give you that. But it's still like I was once at a party, and I was, flirting with a young lady, and then she turned out she had the same name as my mother. And it's like, oh, I gotta go. That's a lot. It's been a blast. Really nice talking to you.
Josh,
yeah.
What's the name? Martha.
Wendy. So Martha.
Just want to say Martha.
Martha.
Do it for Martha. Your whole movie sucks if it comes down to one name.
But now we're not here for our horror movies as much as we love it. We're here to talk about holiday movies, and it has come time. It has come down to that. It is the steel cage match, particularly between Rashawn and myself here. on the age-old annual debate on can we classify the original summer blockbuster as a Christmas movie. That's right. Of course, we're talking about Die Hard. That's why I entered the show with this is Christmas music.
This is going to be a steel cage match. This is going to be basically the equivalent of like Ric Flair versus Eric Bischoff. Like, I don't know how much of a steel cage match this is going to be.
Hey, give the people what they want. That's all I'm saying. As long as it sells tickets. All right.
Woo! Also, Ric Flair is some rampant racist. Sorry.
Well, I mean, let's.
He's also a Rolex wearing limousine.
Yeah, I gotta say, if we're gonna talk about that, the whole founder of the WW Take Your Pick FE movement. I still love that World Wildlife Federation took away their right to say that.
That case took a long time.
That coming.
Isn't that amazing? That a group that was out there to protect panda bears had I was
about to say Vince McMahon et al. Got bodied by a bunch of pandas and koalas and porpoises.
Pandas.
Pandas, it's just awesome.
Hey man, they're still bears. Still rip your fucking face off.
It's true. I've seen some footage. As a matter of fact, remember back when those animals attack show was big. They had some idiot. I think. Sorry to say it was a zoo in China, but some dude putting his arm in the cage or something along those lines. Like, don't do that. Come on. The panda was like, yeah, okay, come here.
I have that reaction anytime somebody's like, this. I mean, I don't know if you want to let this part go through, but white folks need to stop because, I mean, it ain't even Tiger King. I mean, it's like every time they show like a gorilla and they're like, you could see his personality in his eyes. I'm like, no, that is a giant animal that will rip me in half without even thinking about it. No, I don't think it's good. It's like, oh, the tigers have personalities. I'm sure they do. And I don't want it. I mean, like I always have that kind of reaction. So even when I see, a panda, which most people think of as, the, black and white Winnie the Pooh of the animal kingdom, I ain't fucking with them. No, I ain't fucking with them. I want you to proliferate and be happy and eat your grass, my fat yin yang friend, and be happy. But I'm not going to fuck with you.
No,
you stay right where you are, and I'm gonna stay where I am with the Wi-Fi.
I gotta be honest. I think you were raised correctly. My father made mistakes in my upbringing, but I remember when we were watching the show Mr. Smith, which had orangutans, talking orangutans, kind of like Mr. Ed. It ran for about 4 episodes, no joke, and it was talking, and I thought the orangutan was cute and wanted one as a pet. And my father informed me like it could rip my arms off and beat me to death with it without even thinking. Right?
They're vicious.
He's like that animal is 18 times stronger than any man, son. And you know what? That was raising you right because it taught me the proper respect that in fact an orangutan is not a cute cuddly pet.
With also nails that were designed by evolution to dig directly into bark as it was effortlessly able to climb up.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things you want to be breaking down with wild animals before you put your face right in front of it, which funny enough, if you took that plot point out of like 14 different horror movies / sci-fi movies, the movie ends in like 5 minutes. Aliens looking at you. Looking at you, aliens.
No. So
you know who I'm looking at.
As we move into our New Year's resolution, let's make a resolution to raise the children right. No need to kill all the wild animals. Absolutely not. We need to not make them extinct. We need to give them a little more space to roam, but we also have to have proper respect. They're not your pets. They're not cuddly. It's okay. That's the way.
I think we should not cuddly. They're not cuddly. Do not cuddle with that animal.
No, that
is. Plus, how we know that animal wants to cuddle with us? Like that's the other little bit of human hubris that I've always never had a hard time with. Is like we always assume that the animal wants to interact with us. Maybe the animal's like, yo, I've avoided your kind for so goddamn long. What makes you think I want to be interacting with you fuckers now? I watched you guys when you're shitting out trees. I'm not fucking with you guys.
You had the Grizzly Man document. If you want to sum up Westerners' attitude towards wildlife, just watch the Grizzly Man.
Yes.
And it's about a guy named Timothy Treadwell. I won't spoil it for anyone, but he thinks he's doing like a good thing. And everyone else is like, look, man, there's a line in nature that you have to respect.
Yes.
And this guy proceeds to be him. I won't ruin it for everybody, but if you want to laugh, yeah, check out The Grizzly Man.
In a grim way. But speaking of hubris, John McClane, if that isn't the example of hubris in cinema, I don't know what is. I mean, I know he's the everyman, but as he descends upon the screen, bringing us in, going out to his estranged wife, that of course he even admits in the first 2 minutes of the film, as I take my 10 minutes here and begin, in the first 2 minutes of the film, this man in the holiday spirit accepted that he was going to let his wife fly out to California in the 80s, right? Because the little lady wanted a job. Ho, ho, ho. Funny, funny, funny. And he thinks she's going to fall flat in her face. But yeah, lo and behold, she's pulling down more bank than him. And he flies out to visit her at this doomed Christmas party in no less than the Nakatomi Plaza. Now, when it came to the holiday time of year, I had to bring this movie up only because of some very personal experience. I used to do a job in Los Angeles, but back in the great city of Angels when I lived there, a job that no longer exists. I used to run videotape back and forth from a editing house over to studios where we would make promotional materials. We would make trailers. We would make TV spots, 30-second, 1-minute TV spots. Back then, you had to run it off onto 3/4-inch tape, which is, picture the VHS on steroids from hell. You'd have to jump in your car. You would run it down the street to the studio where the studio execs would look at it, give notes, and then run it back. But they didn't want to keep you on full time for a job like that was just about that. So you had to run all over town, taking all kinds of promotional materials, all kinds of places. And one of our favorite buildings was 2121 Avenue of the Stars. If you look it up, that is the actual address. And we, of course, called it the Die Hard building because you could not call it anything else. After this cinematic masterpiece premiered in the summer of 1988. Yes, it was a summer blockbuster.
Right.
That was, in fact, set during Christmas. So it's just still a lot of fun for me to watch because I still remember the layout of the building. I can see where they built props. There are some gates that come down. They're plot devices. I get it. They're actually the actual reception desk he goes up to when he goes in is built differently and things like that, which makes sense. The building itself was still under construction and being completed when that movie was being filmed. And I was today years old when I realized that even though they show that they talk about the fact that it's based, or there's a point in the credits where it says based on the book by, I really was today years old when I really got my head around, thanks to Rashawn sending me a cracked video talking to me about the fact that there was source material for a book. The 80s, man, when we would really go out there and find those literary masterpieces to base this on. But yes, the building was itself under construction. And a real last quick side note on the building itself. I actually had my only brush with a then living American president. It was actually the day that Bill was giving the full deposition about Monica. And I walked into the lobby as per usual, signed in. I was running upstairs to my usual stop. And I see this really old glassy-eyed dude with two younger guys walking beside him slowly. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, God damn, that guy looks like Ronald Reagan. And as I got into the elevators, which are aligned, just the way you see them in the film, I remember looking out the elevator door and seeing the guy with it was the early 90s at that point. It was the late 90s, sorry, 97, 98. And I see the Secret Service guy with the thing coming out of his ear. God damn it, that was Ronald Reagan. Holy shit. So even though, all feelings aside, there you go. There's my one brush with the office of the presidency. Was in fact
starting the crack epidemic and forgetting about or thinking AIDS was not real. Thank you.
Yeah.
And supply side economics is woefully wrong.
I think at that point he was just, I think at that point he may have still thought that trickle down economics worked because he was in fact in the grips.
Never believed that, as he never believed he was a good actor. Those were just
There's always that. But
staples that we all went with.
nevertheless, I am still here to present to you that even though it was released in the summer of 1988, even though it is an action movie, that it is still at heart a Christmas movie. And here, first and foremost, is why I say we can absolutely put this around the holiday table and still enjoy it. This is America, people. At least where we're broadcasting from. We hope we are reaching you in other countries in the world, and we are three gentlemen. We really do consider ourselves gentlemen. We really try and understand other cultures and know that there are other nations in this world other than the U.S. of A. But nevertheless, this is where we live. This is where we were raised. We still can't escape that indescribable fact. And I put to you, there is nothing that says Christmas in America like a body count. All right. You are talking about a nation that once a year, directly after gorging itself on a good portion of the entire planet's food, we rouse ourselves from our stupor, combined with fat, sugar, alcohol, hatred of family, anything else that you can think of mixed in there, all the good stuff. We rouse ourselves from that stupor. And we go get up often in the early morning of the earliest mornings, the hours at midnight of the earliest possible hour where you can call it another day, right? It still feels like night, but you are technically in the morning. You have crossed the threshold to another day, and you proceed to go on out and pile on into a store so violently that people have indeed lost their lives while you're trying to get your gift right after giving thanks, right? Mm-hmm. that you are then piling into those stores to absolutely load up on as much Christmas joy as is possible. And I submit to you, is that any different than what Hans Gruber is trying to do with those bearer bonds? I think not. Hans is just seeing the spirit of the season, right? It is just the way America. Hans is German. He's coming from outside the country, and he's just like, look, this is who you are. He even says it in his speech to John McClane, raised on too many cowboy movies. You think of John Wayne or Gary Cooper, right? So the idea that he's doing, even there, apparently in the book, they're more the terrorists in quotes are more ecologically minded. They're raiding a large oil company, whereas, of course, Nakatomi Corporation is just a simulation. Going back to one of our way earlier episodes, talking about our xenophobic fear of the Japanese in the 80s at that point, right? And, this whole corporation taking over America. He is really just seeing what America is all about, which is just economic opportunism, and that he's going to step up and he's going to take that, right? And if he has to do that, under the guise of something else, as we're doing right now in this holiday spirit. And even though it's supposed to be the time of giving and joy, what do the markets do? They look at how much people are spending on that giving and joy, and they give a sense of how the actual entire economy is doing at this particular point of consumption and making sure that we're there. Hans simply represents that which we all know. He is right there. He's stepping up. He's taking that opportunity. And then, thank you, Bruce Willis. Thank you, John McClane, for keeping us grounded in what this movie's all about. Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. Right? Right there. Come on. Nailed it. That is absolutely the spirit of Christmas in America. All right. We are here for the explosions. We are here for the guns, people. He was in junior high, you dickhead. It's all there. It's all right there for you. This is the perfect Christmas movie, at least from the vantage point of the country of my birth, the U.S. of motherfucking A. All right.
Just like back in Saigon.
Exactly. Come on, man. Come on. Also, just detail that, you got to love being in the here and now. Looking back, you at one point catch a glimpse of gas prices, 85 cents a gallon, by the way. Literally, I know where that gas station is there on Olympic. So I used to have to stop there and fill it myself from time to time when Al is stepping in there to get his Twinkies. Right?
That's LA. So the rest of the country was like probably closer to like 60 cents.
60 exactly. No,
Yeah.
you know, always been higher there, at least to my knowledge. I don't know. I was living here in the 80s, didn't move out there to the 90s. But you know, even Al with his Twinkies, even the cop, even the beat cop, right? Showing us really what we want. What do we want? We want explosions, we want machine guns, we want dead terrorists, right? We got to make sure that we know they're terrorists, even though they're apparently faking. You know, and nothing better than when where he looks at him questioningly and says, and mouths the words Asian Dawn. I read about that in Time magazine. You know, that to me, nothing says Christmas like that. And the fact that the main terrorist ends up dying by falling off this edifice of American might, right down to right. He has to get one of the best death scenes ever in slow motion as he's going down. Yeah, perfect Christmas movie. Fight me, prove me wrong. I just don't think it can be done. So with that, I'm going to pull it on over to our resident heel, to the man who's been warming up and getting ready to come off the ropes. It is indeed Rashawn Smith, 3 of clubs. Let's see what you got.
I mean, I was kind of fine until you like just called me out with the challenge of, you know, fight me on it. I mean, that's kind of rough,
me, bro.
That's messed up, man. I just totally took my concentration. I had some solid points that I was gonna go with, and they're all gone because you just literally said "fight me, bro," and that just took me into a whole different category. I mean, we're talking about products of the 80s. Well, back in the 80s, you could fight a kid on the playground in the middle of school and literally go right back to class like that. You just take care of the situation right there. So you're peeking up some old feelings with both the conversation and Die Hard, and also challenging some simple male machismo with now me thinking within the decade of the 80s how to respond. Well, the funny thing when it comes to Christmas movies and Die Hard and how it comes together and blah, 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 I would like to refer back to the episode that we had last week, in which I was pointing out really how we got to the evolution of the cultural phenomenon of what Christmas is, how we celebrate, how we view it, what we expect when this time of year comes around, the sort of visual expectations as well as auditory expectations. More often than not, it comes down to the decorations, from which is passed down from generation to generation as far as being expected. So as I pointed out in our last episode, it wasn't until about the 1960s that the way we look at Christmas now is really what kind of came about during that period. So, you know, the grandiose, not only tree, but the decorations in the house, and carolers going from kind of actually roving bands of people who are just going to beat you up if you didn't give them money. And like what really ended up being what we think of trick or treating kind of happened during caroling time in a way more violent way. But and went from that to like more wholesome. We were gonna walk around, look at everyone's lights, you know, drink some hot cocoa, maybe sing some songs, you know, go sledding. That's why I pointed out the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation is a great example of American Christmas and the expectation of what you should be looking at during Christmas. And I say all that because it helps to sort of put the scope of why we always see Christmas movies in the same sort of way. It is culturally supported. We look at it in a lot of different archetypes that happen throughout the year that come together and culminate at that point of the year in a very shared, universal way. Like I said, you're looking at the trees. You're expecting to see the trees. You see trees. Christmas time. You're expecting to see lights on the trees and decorations, Christmas time. All these things tend to happen in the expectation, which creates the cultural understanding what Christmas is, and something we talked about last week or last episode. I would like to also refer to an excellent article that I would like to point people to. My man, Stephen Follows. You can find him on stephenfollows.com. He broke down using data to break down if Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. So before I go absolutely crazy.
He brought the data. He brought the receipts.
Well, you knew that was going to happen because I don't have an anchor. This ship is definitely setting the sail, and we don't know where the fuck it's going. So with that said, I have to have some anchor. So I want to quote my man Stephen Follows. I want to have this come off as my own shit. Be broken down in a very good way, at least on a universal understanding of what a Christmas movie is, as far as our expectations as a viewer. Because where Die Hard really kicks in as a conundrum for this question is the timeline of what happens in the movie, not necessarily the reference or the actions within the movie, which normally dictates what a movie tends to be thematically, but more the guideline. And what Josh already pointed out, we got this movie in the summertime. However, the time that it takes place is during Christmas Day, actually, literally, or not during Christmas Day. I think it actually takes place Christmas Eve, but they're having a Christmas party. There's Christmas trees all over the place, which, by the way, we're all just going to leave on the table how fucked up it is that your boss is like, yeah, we're going to have a giant, massive Christmas party on Christmas Eve. Don't worry about what your families are, your plans, or your travel, or whatever your holiday expectations are. You're going to be celebrating with me. Also, kind of funny, if you want to break it down even more on the cultural understanding of how weird America is in a way that we both are very accepting, but also very unaccepting at the same time. We did talk about how in the 80s, especially in the late 80s and going into the 90s, that there was a massive xenophobic feeling of corporation takeover from in a lot of different Asian powerhouses. One in potential would be Japan. Well, it's kind of funny how we look at this Americana movie, Die Hard, and we break it down in Americana ways of Christmas. Yet the central place that it takes, central plot point that takes place in this whole movie is a tower called Nagasaki.
Nagatomi.
Thank you. Nagatomi. So that right there just gives you a full example of how we Americans will say, this is our American movie, and it's all about Christmas, and we're using American thoughts about Christmas, and it's taking place in a tower named after a Japanese dude who probably had no connection to Christmas whatsoever. So I'll start with that and break down how my man normally, and Stephen Follows, he says, basically, Christmas movies have to come down to three elements: creative, commercial, and cultural. Creative, was it the artistic intent for the movie to become a Christmas movie? So I'll go back to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's in the title. They're not messing around with it. It literally is trying to say this is a Christmas movie. There's plenty of other examples that we would go to. I don't have the time. I'm trying to actually keep it within sort of 15 minutes for my man Josh on the editing. So I'll just keep it to this one example. You could go with commercial. Same thing with creative, but you're really pushing it. So that's when you kind of get to like Jingle All the Way, where we're really highlighting the corporation takeover of Christmas, which, funny enough, has a lot to do with Die Hard, right? We're talking about a corporation who makes you have a Christmas party on Christmas Eve, and that is where the plot point takes place, which is why all the damn, and this is why I get so upset with this topic, all the damn hipsters, and I say that with love because I know I'm technically a hipster as much as I am a millennial. If you follow just guidelines, whatever, hipsters get such a bad rap, but this is why we get bad raps. Because we had badgered the fucking writers of this movie so goddamn long that finally, like, whatever, man. Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. Bruce Willis is like, fuck you. It's a Bruce Willis movie. He has actually quoted that. It's funny how we started this conversation with who Bruce Willis is, because Bruce Willis is coming out with being real Bruce Willis about it. He's like, nah, man, fuck you. It's a Bruce Willis movie. He's not even saying it's a John McClane movie. He's just letting you know, in case this gets recast down the line, you understand this right here, this shit right here, this Die Hard, this is a Bruce Willis movie. It's no different than when Michael Keaton shows up every once in a while. It's like, yeah, that 1989 Batman, that's me. Fuck y'all. But anyway, he just will just keep it moving. So even though the hipsters have badgered the writers down to basically saying, fine, it's a Christmas movie, there are some actual weird sort of data points that prove it could be really, in fact, specifically, I guess, a Christmas movie. The one that I'm just going to focus on the most, because I don't have a whole lot of time, but it is pretty damn glaring. In the script, in the original script, and we can have a whole different episode of how different the movie and the script is from the book. I'll just give you one quick note. It's not the main character's wife that he's going to save. It's his coked out daughter, who actually is part of the bad guys, and she dies with the bad guys, Hans Gruber style, falling from the building with Hans Gruber. So, I mean, if you want to go with it like that. Also,
well, damn.
Huh?
I said, well, damn.
Well, damn, right? Like
Yeah,
they just
well,
go
damn.
full. They just go full Lethal Weapon with it. Like, yeah, Merry Christmas. Here's your dead daughter. So
Oh,
with
shit.
that said, with that said, also in the movie, Bruce Willis's character John McClane doesn't actually embrace it as Christmas. He's not really looking at it like that. And I actually have real life experience, and I would argue most adults do. There's plenty of times you literally looked up at the calendar and like, oh shit, it's Christmas like tomorrow. Like, I don't even have gifts. I need to do something. I need to go take care of this. My man's going out there. He had to kind of save his marriage, but he's not there for the Christmas fair. He doesn't give a shit. Matter of fact, he's annoyed that he has to go to his goddamn party. So it's not really a Christmas spirity thing. But the data does back it up in the sense of if it's a Christmas movie, because in the original script, the word Christmas shows up 18 times. That is in relation, just to give you scope of what we're talking about, more than the words explode, die, hard, shoot, kill, blood, and far fewer times than guns. Guns and terrorists show up more. But other than that, Christmas is actually in there more than the words die and hard, as well as explosion and other things that we can argue really categorize the movie. So with that said, it's understandable and I guess arguable to call it a Christmas movie. However, none of the main characters actually interact in the movie as if it's a Christmas movie. It's just happening on that day. It's a plot point for Hans Gruber because he knows it's a security issue that he can work with. It's a plot point for Holly McClane because it puts her in the building, which makes it a plot point for John McClane to give a shit. If Holly wasn't there, he would just been an off-duty cop who would have been like, all right, well, that sucks. Let's just go over to Hilton and like try to, fuck our way out of this relationship woes and maybe have another kid and work for it. To that point, even Die Hard 2, he literally says Merry Christmas. Like he goes out of his way to say it. But in the first one, he really only says it one time. And it was kind of like in the moment of killing someone. Although technically in Die Hard 2, he does say after he kind of killed a bunch of people. So I don't know. John McClane kills a lot of people. And it kind of happens near Christmas time sometimes. But it doesn't necessarily make it a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie. But if you go back to those three original points, creative, commercial, cultural, I would argue creatively, they didn't really try for it. So I would say, even though it shows up in the script a whole lot, I still would argue that the writers weren't aiming for it to be a Christmas movie when they're making the movie. We all know that. Commercially, well, corporations take over everything. So once you put in the scope of how I point out how America got to the Christmas image in which we share and embody now, it's not hard to believe that everything that happens during December 25th on a movie is going to be commercially a Christmas movie because they have the commercial power to back it up. It's a corporation. That's really what Christmas is right now. It's a corporate sponsored theme of a day in which we all sort of celebrate. It has long since been away from quote unquote the reason for the season, which as we all know is a red Starbucks cup. But if you go to the cultural side, this is where the hipsters win. This is where Josh wins. This is where everyone who wants to make the point. This is where even one of the main writers came back around after like 25 years of hearing a bunch of bullshit. Every Comic-Con he's ever been to. Fine. It's a fucking Christmas movie. If you want to make it a Christmas movie, if your Christmas is that fucked, you go ahead and make it a Christmas movie. All right, fine, I guess. But there's other movies to watch.
So what you said was all those wonderful points that, nice work bringing the receipts, and really making your argument a 3-point argument. Love it all. Think that was fantastic. What I heard was this is a remake of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's what you're telling us. John McClane's heart was 3 sizes 3 small, and then it grew because he killed a lot of people. And then by the next movie, he killed some more people. He's down with the Who's. That's what you're telling me.
No. Let me be clear what I said, because I want to make sure everyone is clear on what I'm saying when they hear this podcast. What I'm actually saying is Bruce Willis don't give a fuck what you think. It is whatever the fuck Bruce Willis wants it to be. And right now, it's a Bruce Willis movie. That's actually the central point.
Bruce Willis movie.
That's a point. I think that's a point we can totally agree on, and we can, if we ever get the chance, we can follow that up with Demi Moore or the little town he bought in. Where the fuck was it? Idaho, Montana. He bought a town in Montana, and I think basically he's like, it's a Bruce Willis town.
Yeah.
So, and then he left.
Bruce Willis is the human version of the honey badger.
That's true. Hey, Bruce Willis don't give a shit. There, without a doubt. Though I will say that from the wrestling standpoint, you suplexed me, you hit me with the folding chair, and then you just dropped the folding chair and walked the fuck out of the arena. You're like, yeah, and fuck it, fine. It's a Christmas movie. Fuck you.
Well, if I'm Eric Bischoff, that probably means I either have a double cross on what I'm presenting at the moment, or I know a double cross is coming for me at any moment, so I just get out of there anyway. And also, I'm not a wrestler, and I'm in still a cage with a wrestler, so you might as well fucking leave when you are still walking, opposed to the other results.
All right, that's a good point. But now we
Mick
have to
Foley barely made out of some of those steel cages, and he was a wrestler. So, what the hell me and my leather coat, Mr. Eric Bischoff, gonna do?
Yeah,
I'm not even Virgil. I'm not even Virgil, man. Like,
damn.
I'm not even built for this shit, man. I look smaller than the other guy.
Let's leave Virgil out of this. All right.
I'm just saying, like, if I were Virgil as a manager, I would have a chance.
We're gonna leave Virgil out of this.
I remember one of my happiest moments is when Virgil finally actually got to fight the $1 Million Man.
Wow.
Oh, I was so happy. I was so happy. I didn't really understand race at that moment, but I knew enough at like 7 years old to still be like, fuck yeah, let's go. Fuck you, beat the shit out of that asshole.
Hey, I always want to see JYD win the whole thing. So I thought it was unfair that they never gave him a championship. That's all.
They didn't even get him close. They
not even.
No, he was always totally a supporting character. So,
I hate it since we're on now we're totally off subject, but I used to hate Royal Rumbles because they would always do that shit. They would always put people like Junkyard Dog, a couple of like the fan favorites in there. And you're sitting there like, all right, we know they're going in the first 10. Like, why are you doing this to us? Why even put them in there? You might as well put what's her name? Macho Man Randy Savage's girl.
Oh yeah.
Miss Elizabeth.
Miss Elizabeth. Yeah, you might as well put her in there. She has just as much chance as these black sub character wrestlers that you guys give no fucking shot or care to. Like Actually, my heart would break when they break out like Ricky Steamboat Sambo. I'm like, dude, there's no fucking chance this is gonna happen. Like this is done. Junkyard Dog, nope, not gonna happen.
I'll get us back on track here just a sec, but I am willing to bet if you YouTube it, you will find fights where Miss Elizabeth did in fact last longer. Or had more of an impact on the match. I'm willing to bet that. So, but with that, let's bring in the inevitable surprise that quote unquote nobody saw coming, and bring the other man into the ring here, the Star Child, just to put us all in our place and to get us.
That's why I ran out of the ring.
That's it. It's all back in that Christmas spirit, one way or the other. What you got for a Star Child? We don't know where you're coming at from today. So,
I guess I'm kind of walking the line, but at the end of the day, I am going to say it's not a Christmas movie. I get why people want to say it's a Christmas movie because you get to watch explosions instead of the usual cheese during the holiday. So I totally get it. But the truth is, it's not a Christmas movie without cheese. Like, you kind of just have to have it. I mean, if you want to, shit, you can make Jurassic Park a Christmas movie. I mean, whatever you want to watch during Christmas, knock yourselves out. But I think the simple fact that, does anyone have a favorite nativity movie? I mean, there have been tons of nativity movies, which actually, focus on the, birth of the person whose day it is. But don't nobody watch them shits because it's not fun. It's this young couple in the wilderness running from Romans. You got like three kings who are like following a star out in the middle of fucking nowhere. No one wants to see that shit when you can watch Miracle on 34th Street. You're just not going to, And that's kind of the point. Christmas is, other than Halloween, you're licensed to be gaudy. It's your license to be cheesy, tacky, wear absolutely hideous things that you would never wear any other time of year. Put lights on your fucking house like you can't find it. Like you just put all of this. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like it's your time to be cheesy and corny and triple down on the Christmas. You see, no one wants to see a Christmas movie where it's just kind of a fact. Otherwise, I mean, we're not having the same conversation about Batman Returns. You know, came out in the summer, was a Christmas movie. I'm pretty sure Alfred says Merry Christmas, Master Wayne at the very end of the movie. Like, and his heart grows 1,000 times because he says, and goodwill towards men at the end. But nobody says that. Bridget Jones' Diary also happens during Christmas, but Bridget Jones' Diary is a rom-com. We know that. I know that. You know that, because Christmas is in the background. Christmas is just the season that it happens to be happening in, but it's not in your face. And I know, all right, fine, it doesn't have to be in your face, but yes, the fuck it does. And to Rashawn's point about hipsters, we also don't have this conversation about Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, a good portion of that definitely happens toward around Christmas time, and it's got all the Christmas themes. But let's be honest, like it's murky looking, it's creepy, it's weird. And again, Christmas is really only half of it, and they beat up Santa Claus. Like no one wants to see that around Christmas time. You know, like it's not romantic. It doesn't, Santa doesn't lose his memory or anything like that, and I understand. Look, if you're gonna watch, a Christmas movie, it gets a little heavy. You know what I mean? Between like It's a Wonderful Life and Home Alone and Polar Express, which is genuinely terrifying. If you've ever seen like that era of, I'll say rotoscoping, but just what they do with the children's faces in Polar Express. And I watch the Family Guy Christmas special every year instead. Like I just can't do it, but all of those things, they all come together, and that's what you want out of a Christmas film. People still watch Polar Express because it's heaped up with Christmas cheese and tackiness and gaudiness. No one wants to see nativity films because one, we've, touching on what we were talking about with capitalism. I mean, we fairly divorced Jesus from his own birthday. I mean, let's be honest. And actually, the standard bearers for Jesus and Jesusness kind of kicked him out of the box and put Trump in there. So, I mean, do they even care anymore that Jesus doesn't get mentioned in his own birthday story? And for me personally, because I went to Catholic school and, I had to sit through this, I like Jesus films. There, I said it. I like Jesus films. I will watch. What's that?
Right here. That was a big confession right there.
Oh yeah, I like Jesus films. I like Jesus films. The Passion of the Christ was okay. I tend to go to King of Kings, classic. Jesus of Nazareth, the miniseries that was on television. So good. So good. And people get freaked out when I'm like, what's your favorite Jesus film? Because I think everyone should have one. Like, Stallone. Like, what's your favorite Jesus film? But generally most people don't even have one, unless, maybe if you're an avid church goer. And then lastly, but not leastly, okay, yes, there has to be some sort of something close to a Christmas miracle. Now, you can make the argument that the fact that he survives and actually beats all of these, hardcore terrorists is I mean, let's be honest. He is, just an Irish beat cop from New York. Like, there's no way that he knows all of this shit.
Or that the limo driver actually lives.
What's that?
Or that the limo driver actually lives.
Or the limo driver lives. Exactly. Like all of these things. Like, seriously, like you could say that's the Christmas miracle, but it's like, it doesn't have the cheese of like, you know, A Christmas Carol. You know, like it has to be that corny because this is the season where we get our license. You know, like you don't watch Christmas movies because they're cool. You know what I mean? Or because they're badass. You watch Christmas movies because this is your chance to be 100% over the top hideous with your tastes. And that's what we want. Die Hard, this is another thing that makes it not a Christmas film because Die Hard has been called the perfect film. It's been called the perfect film. It's been said like the way the action moves, and the way
by whom?
Yeah, the way the action moves and the way the characters move and the pacing, the directing, all of those things, and your, you know, 3 acts, it's a perfect film. It's a perfect film. Part of the reason people like it so much, and you're not aware of it because obviously you're just, you know, looking at the cool, you're just listening to the one-liners and waiting for the next explosion, but it actually does, as an action film, is one of the most, has been called one of the most solid films ever made.
I mean,
Which
you
is,
had me, yeah, Bubby,
which
I'm your
for
white
a
knight.
summer movie is a big fucking compliment. Let's not forget this is a summer film. So to be called a solid film, a solidly made film in the action film in the summer, that's a big compliment. That's a big compliment for this movie to get. And I'm going to go ahead and say there's no such thing as a good Christmas movie. No, they're not good.
There you might not have me.
I cost him Val.
Yeah, no, there's no such thing as a good Christmas movie. It's a good Christmas movie the same way that the not the Untouchables. What's this? The the Expendables.
I was about to say, don't you dare touch the Untouchables. We don't have time for this.
The Expendables is a great movie. It's a perfect movie. It knows what people want to see.
No,
it gives people what they want to see.
No,
and it just triples down on it. Well done. That's what people want from Christmas movies. They want you to give them what they want to see, triple down on it, and do not bother me with some goddamn character development. Don't you dare, because I do not care. I want Christmas layered on top of Christmas and floating in a pool of Christmas. That's why movies like Elf, people love it.
There's
people
character arc.
Love Elf.
There's character arc.
What's that?
There's character arc in Elf. That's the whole point of Elf.
Sure.
I'm just pointing out the whole point of Elf is taking him from point A to point B. Like,
yeah,
that's about great. His maturation.
Yeah. Don't nobody care about that shit.
That's the only reason why you care about the actions.
Don't nobody care about that shit. You know what I mean? Like a Home Alone. Yeah, don't nobody care about that shit. Don't nobody care. No one cares. I said earlier, Miracle on 34th Street. Yeah, don't nobody care. No one cares. Polar Express, terrible film. Not only, like I said, terrifying what they did with the effects, but at the same time,
what they do with the kids.
People, yeah, and the kids. But you know what? Great Christmas movie. Knocked it out of the park. So for that reason, I say, no, it doesn't. I understand you could, if you want to stretch your imagination, say that there are some Christmas themes in it, but no, that's not what we want from Christmas films. And when it comes to Christmas, nobody wants solid. Nobody wants explosions. We want cheese. We want gaudy. We want Dolly Parton.
Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, who doesn't want Dolly Parton? I'm full on the Dolly Express here. There's no.
I'm good with parsing out my Dolly time and experience. I just want to point out a couple of quick things. One, there actually are a few more miracles in Die Hard that we totally just discredit for a fact. One, there are 3 black characters in it with speaking lines, and a movie that has 4 black characters in a movie with speaking lines that has cops, explosions, gunfire, people getting killed left and right, and only 1 dies. That's incredible. That's one. The computer guy does not die.
Computer guy does not die.
He does not die.
Who's the black dude that dies?
The FBI agent.
FBI agent in the helicopter.
In the helicopter, that's right.
The guy who was in 8th grade during Saigon. So, serve that. Also, I love the fact that as we're looking at Die Hard, it was actually a little bit more inclusive of a holiday movie because it tossed in some Yiddish right there with one of the best lines of all movies of the 80s and early 90s, which is, "Bubby, I'm your white knight." I mean, come on, you toss a little bit of Yiddish right there. It is kind of fucked up how the one person who they kind of identified it was a Jewish person who wasn't in there celebrating Christmas gets absolutely executed. Now, did he bring it on to himself? Absolutely, but whatever. Also, thank you, Greg.
Ruining the Christmas party with his cocaine.
Right?
Come on.
Right?
He had it coming.
Also, thank you, Greg, because now I kind of feel like I need to see Sly Stallone as Jesus at least once. I mean, that kind of writes itself.
I'll watch the shit out of that.
Right? That would be awesome. That'd be incredible. And right. Yeah, it's the three go. I'm not even gonna do it. I can't. Josh, you did good. I'll just leave it at that. And then the last part that I have to bring up that just struck me as Greg was bringing up some really good points. Has anyone thought to put together the end of Pinocchio, Polar Express, and then Snowpiercer together? Because I swear to God, that is literally a straight line. That is just a straight fucking line of what happens to those kids that no one wants to talk about getting left on that island. So they're like, oh, yeah, no, y'all just here to die, right? But then, no, someone comes on, puts them on a train, treats them all sorts of fucked up, leaves them in places that no one's going to care about. And then finally coming back around like, hey, the world's ending, so everyone get back on this train because we need you to fucking, work some of these gears.
That's right. Facts. And be the food. So the greatest people. Hollywood, we're out here. We're in the Metro Boston area. We're close by to it. Call us. It's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yes. We're dropping jewels.
Unofficially sponsored by Angel Mist.
Yeah. You are totally missing out on an opportunity. All right, I'm going to bring it back around. I'm just going to thank you, Rashawn, for addressing the Christmas miracle. You got a Christmas miracle I missed. But it was 88. That's pretty progressive to have 4 black characters with multiple lines and only one dying. That is impressive.
A cop movie, no less.
A cop movie, no less. Well, one of the black guys plays a cop, though.
Fun fact, I'm not sure this guy is black in the book, but just so people want to know, because they're probably never going to actually read the book, and it's not that great of a book from what I understand. Yeah, but the Carl Weathers, the cop. The buddy cop to Bruce Willis at the end of Die Hard, instead of just dealing with his captain's bullshit like he does in the movie and just being happy that the captain ends up looking like a complete buffoon at the end of the movie and letting that be, which, by the way, rip to that guy because that guy played one of the best principals ever.
Reginald Vell Johnson is his name. So
Reginald Vell Johnson, yeah.
Yes.
The guy who played the captain?
Oh, not the cap. That's the cop. That's the buddy cop we were talking about. The captain.
The guy who went on to play the same person in Family Matters, which is also a weird spinoff. It's actually kind of a direct spinoff.
It kind of is. Like he moves to Chicago and
like it didn't pass us when we were watching it in the beginning of Family Matters. I think everyone in the United States is like, wait a second, is this a Die Hard spinoff?
I think you're right.
Family Matter, that's another show like, Fresh Prince I did not watch, but I do remember like around that time thinking, that's the black cop from Die Hard.
Right? But then just weird fun fact as far as the difference between the book and the movie, on top of the fact that Holly is the guy's daughter and she dies at the end. The buddy cop equivalent in the book, he to save John McClane's life, whose name is not John McClane, it's actually Joe. Joe somebody. To save his life, he pushes his captain in the way of a bullet. So he kills his captain to save John McClane, and then looks at John McClane and says he died a hero. So there you go. There's a Christmas spirit right there. Yeah. Just
America.
Put that in a nice little package.
Give me my PS5.
On it.
He died a hero. Give me my PS5. I just want to point out I just want to point out, what more Christmas miracle do you need than a man tying a fire hose on the top of a skyscraper around his waist, jumping off with an explosion going on behind him, said fire hose supporting him somehow.
Yeah.
Him not being immolated or just crushed by the sheer concussive force of all the C4 that was on top of that building, and then swinging out and hitting the window, and then using his Beretta to shoot through the window, land in the building, and said weight of fire hose starts to drag him back out, almost to his inevitable demise, where he is able to get the very implement that saved his life off of him before it makes him fall to his death.
Man, fuck that noise. Because before you even get to that, I can actually deal with the idea of one guy taking out like 20-something terrorists. I mean, like, you can argue that maybe 4 of them are really trained and the other guys were just holding machine guns. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the physics of what you just said. Highly improbable, probably not impossible. Where I always had a problem with Die Hard, before you want to talk about miracles, because this is the miracle, how the fuck did he actually pull this off with glass all through his feet? Like, he ain't just kind of step on one shard or two. He walks good 100 feet on nothing but shattered glass on his bare feet. So that scene you just talked about, not that hard. I mean, hard to believe, up until you remember that he kicks the fucking window with a foot that has nothing but glass in it. Like, he shouldn't even be walking.
All right, I could.
His foot totally bloody in that too. They don't forget that.
I can wrap up most of that. I mean, first of all, of course, you can do all of that. He grew up Irish Catholic, so that he'll be totally fine. Like, there's nothing else that's gonna. Probably nothing can kill him, to our knowledge.
Our local legend
but like, again, you guys are. What's that?
I said our local legend of a comedian, Dennis Leary, would agree with you on that. So
Dennis Leary, The Ref. He's another Christmas movie that's not really a Christmas movie. But I was going to say, what's that?
So that's a good point. Not a lot of people bring it up as a Christmas movie, but it takes place literally on Christmas. Yeah, right.
He beats up Santa Claus. But that's exactly it. Like, you guys kind of made my point for me. Like, the whole movie is so action forward, so Bruce Willis forward, and a Christmas movie has to be Christmas forward. Like, I mean, you're going on and on about it, because really great. I think it was called The Nativity, and it was a great movie, because most movies about Jesus, spoiler alert, he dies at the end, but it's cool. He comes back. Most Christmas Jesus movies, spoiler, in case nobody's touched on it yet. He always comes back, though. It's totally cool.
It's cool, man. They had time.
Yeah, it's totally cool.
I don't know it by now, man. That's their fault.
But it's with Oscar Isaac.
Wait, Greg. Which version are you watching, though? Does he come back as himself, or is it Hayden Christensen? Which cut of the movie are you watching?
I killed them like animals.
Also, fun fact. Jesus hated sand.
Yeah, he hates sand. Yeah, it's true.
Everywhere.
Of course,
everywhere.
It's rough.
Of course,
it's everywhere.
This is cold. In case there was any doubt about the three of us going to hell, we've really wrapped that up for the listeners.
Yeah, that's not our fault, man. We didn't tell.
I'll be fine.
Big Phantom Menace. That he did that. That's our fault.
That wasn't us.
He's the one who, like, I know what I'll do with the Star Wars. I will really lean into the Jesus equivalent. I will really lean in. I will give you your savior, who will end up not necessarily be your savior, from a woman who we don't know who gave him the child, who also has these powers and also hates sand.
I think you're making.
Well, I mean, I don't want to talk about Star Wars because I want to talk about a good movie. So the movie is called the Nativity Story. I didn't want to make that connection at all, because you're talking about good movies. So we're talking about the bullshit Star Wars. So the Nativity Story was a good movie.
Shout out to Jake Lloyd.
And no one no one was talking about it when it came out. Like, it's with Oscar Isaac, who's, usually good in anything he does. And, they pick up on some of the, more controversial parts of the story, but at the same time, it's a really solid story, and it doesn't follow it all the way to, his whole life. Like, it's just the nativity story, and honestly, totally works. And so it was when that happened, I was like, you know what? Yeah, Christmas is its own entity. It's its own entity, and it has to be, you have to ladle on the Christmas, and that's what makes a Christmas movie.
All right, I'm gonna bring
you
us
heard it
back
here first. Greg actually said that he likes the Star Wars movie. The movie he was talking about was the prequel to Poe Demerson, In the Life of Poe Demerson. So heard it first. Greg actually likes the Star Wars movie. It was sneaky Star Wars. They didn't necessarily, have the regular cross or actually say it, but we're talking about Oscar Isaac, who was in a situation where he somehow was mythically able to get past shit, and then a couple thousand years later, it shows up in Poe.
I will just say I'll wind us up here, start to wind us up. But firstly, just to your point about what about John McClane, of course Oscar Isaac does well. He's half Jewish. Come on now. Now let's give the man his due.
The chosen. The chosen.
The chosen, exactly. Secondly,
are we all like a couple percentage points of being Jewish?
Somewhere in there. It's okay, Bubby. I'm your white knight here. But I'm just going to leave you with this one last thought. Now, if you could, as you said, Greg, what song would you say that you associate is about Christmas, ladles on the Christmas, floats in a pool of Christmas as you drink down your Christmas cheer? Could we not agree that the song is White Christmas? Can we have consensus here amongst the gentlemen? Does that sound about right?
Of Americana Christmas, yes.
Yes.
I wouldn't even say that. All I Want for Christmas Is You has taken over all of it.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah. We'll get to Mariah Carey's War Crime another day. But nevertheless, White Christmas, I think we can all agree, was all of those things you just described. White Christmas was originally released in the film Holiday Inn. Holiday Inn was released in the theaters August 4th, 1942. So a summer movie, for Christ's sakes. Later became so popular they had to actually make the movie into White Christmas, but they had songs for every holiday in Holiday Inn, including the 4th of July. They had songs and dances with Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, Bing Crosby. Is it Bing Crosby? I forget who sings White Christmas, but nevertheless,
a lot of people have.
If that yes, well, absolutely. But if that is considered the ultimate schmaltzy, Danny Kaye was definitely in Holiday Inn, I'm pretty sure.
Because that's a weird sort of Easter egg.
It's Bing Crosby, Fred Astaire, Marjorie Reynolds are the marquee actors in that. Now Danny Kaye as well. He's in Singing in the Rain, Make 'Em Laugh.
Well, I was just pointing out because that's actually a through line to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where Clark Griswold literally says, "We're gonna tap dance." Or Danny fucking K.
Exactly.
Brought it around.
Without a doubt, as always. Hey, that's become the Three Clubs Rules. You like to think you're throwing us off, but you have said it yourself. You tie it up, you make it a little bow with bunny ears, just like a little Christmas gift. So we want to thank you all for coming out and joining us again today in this little merry romp through pop culture and how we view it through the lens of the here, the now, the future, the past, everything. Let's do the old roundup here. Three Clubs, what you got going on for this weekend as we're heading on out? What you thinking for us?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, all right, that's deep.
Yes,
but you
catch me at these weird times, man. I either have a lot to say or I'm a complete blank space.
We text each other. We agree when to meet. We do all these things.
Catches me off guard every week, man. Every week catches me off guard.
Wait, what am I doing?
10 o'clock already? Shit.
Right? Shit.
Shit. Oh my God. What am I doing here? It's kind of reminiscence of conversations with my son from time to time. Did you listen to anything I just said to you? Yes. What did I say to you? Wait, what?
Full disclosure, listeners, Josh also does the exact same thing on text message. You can text him 17 different times what you want to do or what you're going to do, or what the plan is. And on the 18th time, don't forget, you will definitely get a text from Josh being like, hey, so what's the plan?
What's the plan? Exactly. Hey, just nothing wrong with check, double check, recheck. All right. Measure twice, cut once. That's my motto. All right.
Well
or
done.
text 18 times and forget on the 19th. That should also be my motto, without a doubt. All right, Star Child. Any thoughts going into the holiday with the holiday spirit in this weekend?
Always, it's the holidays, so be safe. Born on this day in the city of David was not John McClane.
But it should have been, God damn it, because America. I can see a concept. We need to have Die Hard meets the Nativity. I think that's our next movie that we have to make, our next mashup.
An action nativity
nativity
movie.
Yes.
Oh, now I remember what I'm gonna do this weekend.
Oh,
there.
Okay.
Get a drink, get drunk, try to make it to the next weekend. That's all.
Oh shit.
Oh damn. All right. I'm glad to see we're getting our holiday on a little bit early there over there, Rashad. But we want to thank you for coming out again and listening to us today. Can you do us that favor? Go like us on the socials. We are the Steam Gentlemen on Facebook. We are Do You Even Steam Bro on Instagram. We are the Steam Gentlemen on YouTube. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. We would always appreciate it. But first, foremost, always most important, as the best holiday gift you could possibly give to us and to yourself, really, let's be honest here, is head on over to iTunes and or Apple Podcast and make sure to rate us and review us. We really, when we say that, we mean a good review is what we would prefer, of course, so that we can, expand and also give the gift of the Steam Gentlemen. Check out our merch and go on over and talk to your friends. And, this is a gift you can give for free. It's a gift that keeps on giving, is our wonderful voices. I had a friend of ours, friend of mine, at school who she's a listener, and her husband came up to me and said, we were in Switzerland and I hear your voice. I'm like, well, you're welcome, because she was listening to us in Switzerland. I'm like, well, you are welcome. So glad I came along on your
How
vacation.
did the rest of that conversation go?
It was, there were a few pauses, and then I was scratching my head saying, what was that? And then he explained himself. So I was like, oh, thank God. Wonders of modern technology. Gotta love it. But glad everyone enjoys. This is Josh the Birdman here, wishing you the beginning of a happy holiday season, whatever the hell that may be. Make sure to go on out there and support the American economy and keep your heat up and keep your head of steam on.